Hello guys, I'm Dimitri Ortiz from Section 1H BS Criminology. So I'm gonna discuss now my topic, properties and change of matter from general chemistry. In this video, we're going to focus on states of matter, at least the most common ones that you typically encounter. And so this includes solids, liquids, and gases. But first, what is the matter? Matter, you can think of it as stuff. It's basically anything that has a mass and take up space. Matter is composed of individual tiny particles known as atoms, and matter can be classified into one of these three different categories. Now, let's talk about solids. Solid has a definite shape, so if you think of a rock has a fixed shape. I know this is a terrible visual illustration of a rock. It has a fixed shape and fixed of volume. Liquids on the other hand, they're fluid. They have no definite shape, but they do have definite volume. Let's say if I have cup that look like this, and in it, let's say we have 50 milliliters of water. So this cup has a definite volume of fluid. Now if I take that liquid and pour it into a cup with a different shape, the volume of water will not change. It will still be 50 milliliters. So that we could say that liquids, they have definite volume. However, this shape is different. A liquid will take the shape of its container. Now let's say if I take the liquid and pour it into a spherical or semi-spherical container, the liquid will fit the shape of the container, and so that's why we could say that the liquid has no definite shape. If I try to do something for rock, if I take this rock and move it from one container to another, the shape of the rock is going to be the same. It's not going to change. It's going to have the same shape, same mass, same volume. So solids are rigid, but liquids are fluid. A liquid can flow. So let's say if I have a cup, I can take another cup and pour liquid into it. The gases can flow too. Let's say if you have a pipe and you have a gas in the pipe, the gas can flow through the pipe. Solids, they don't have that ability so to flow. So liquid and gases are known as fluids because they can flow. Now you have different types of fluids. You have like water which can flow nice and easily, but you have like more viscous fluids like syrup and honey. They don't flow very quickly, so they have a high viscosity. Now let's talk about density. Density is equal to the mass divided by the volume. Solids have a very high density. For example, the density of iron metal is 7,870 kilograms per cubic meter. Kilograms is a unit of mass. Cubic meters is a unit of volume. Now liquids also have a high density as well. Molten iron metal or liquid iron metal near its melting point has a density of around 6,980 kilograms per cubic meter. And for most substances, the density of a solid is usually greater than the density of a liquid. Now granted, there are some exceptions. For instance, liquid water has a higher density than solid water, which is known as ice. The density for liquid water is around 1,000 kilograms per cubic, which is the same as 1 gram per milliliter. And the density of water, rather ice, I should say, is 917 kilograms per cubic meter. So the density of liquid water is greater than ice. And so that's one of the rare exceptions, but generally speaking, solids usually have higher density than liquids, and gases have a very low density. Now just to put that in perspective, the density of air. At 20 degrees Celsius, it is temperature dependent is around 1.2 kilograms per cubic meter. And if you compare the density of liquid water, it's 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. So the density of a liquid is much higher than the density of a gas. Now, because gases have a very low density, they are highly compressible. But because solids and liquids have a fairly higher density, they are only slightly compressible. You can't compress them as much as you could with a gas. Because the gas has a lot of empty space in between the atoms. In the case of solid, the atoms are closely packed to each other, so there's not much space between them, which make them highly incompressible. Now liquids, on the other hand, the atoms and molecules in the liquid, they're still pretty close to each other, kind of like solid because the densities it doesn't really vary much. However, notice that they're not as neatly arranged as in the solid, and that's because they're free to move. They're fluid. In a gas, the particles are very far apart from each other. And so because of all that empty space, you can compress a gas. Thank you for watching. I'm Dimitri Ortiz from Section 1H.